Well, good things. Good things today here. Bjorn, would you open the sutras for us?
The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered but rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this. May we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning. The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered but rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this. May we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning. The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered but rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this. May we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning.
Lovely. Well, we continue today with Master Keizan's Zazen Yojinki, which is his great explication and doorway to Zazen. And we're also here to celebrate the Buddha's birthday, which in Japan is celebrated on April 8th. And as you can see, if you can see the little Buddha statue of the baby Buddha, which I've placed for our Zazen today, you will see his gesture, which has many interpretations. The one I really like is when the Buddha was born, he pointed up and down and conveyed that all things above and below and right here and then and for you too are enlightened and born with the baby Buddha. And I think Master Keizan, in the very first sentence of today's passages, says very much the same thing. Thus Buddhas have arisen in this world for the one great matter of teaching people the wisdom and insight of awakening, and to give them true entry. We will see that this entrance is not really a doorway to somewhere else. It's an entrance to what's right here, above and below, then and everywhere, now, but we may not realize it, you see. Master Keizan, of course, points to Zazen as our way to realize this here, there, everywhere, now and then. He says, for this there is the peaceful, pure practice of sitting. This is nothing but the samadhi in which all Buddhas receive and use themselves as Buddhas. A term that Master Dogen used was Jiju Zanmai. This is the sovereign of all samadhis. Entering this samadhi, the ground of mind is clarified at once. You should know that this is the true gate to the way of the Buddhas. So what is this Jiju Zanmai? It's really tricky to translate, and samadhi usually means, in some corners of meditation and traditional Buddhism, a deep, deep, deep concentration of the mind. But I think we will find that it's something a bit more subtle. And I like to translate it as something like everything just doing its thing, and that's okay, samadhi. A little modern there in my language, perhaps, but everything just free and playing as itself, as what it is, all things as it is, samadhi. That's how I would translate this Jijiyu Zenmai. When we realize this, somehow all this world becomes clear, even all its maddening confusion. And we find it is the true gate to, as I said, this realization that is not far away, or better said, is far away and close and up and down and everywhere. So not really a gate to get somewhere, but a gate to realize what has been all along. Master Dogen called it the sovereign, the king of all samadhis. And Master Keizan continues in the next lines, if you want to clarify the mind ground, give up your jumble of limited knowledge and interpretation. This is why we sit Zazen. Our minds are so filled with opinions and analysis. What I think about you, what I think about that other thing that's happening across the world or in my family or yesterday or tomorrow, my views on it. Our mind, as you know, in Buddhism, divides the world into pieces. Separation, me who is not you, the enemy who is not my friend, the situation which I like or dislike, the things in this world that please me or displease me, what I need, what I resist. Our head is a jumble. And in Zazen somehow, we give up this jumble of limited views, divided thinking, opinions, interpretations. And we experience the Jijiyu Zanmai, which is beyond copyright this. Please write it down. We're going to file for a bumper sticker trademark on this. Everything doing its thing, and that's okay. And the whole thing, everything is also the whole thing doing its thing, and that's okay. Jijiyu Zanmai. But it's kind of tricky to get what the Zen masters may mean by this, because as I said, it's not really a deep concentration where the whole world drops away. Well, sometimes it is. Sometimes we reach such states in our meditation and the whole world does drop away. But this is something much more subtle, which I'd like to point you to today. It's very practical too. The thing about the deep concentration is when you come out of the deep concentration, this whole crazy mixed up world is still here, you see? The things that disappoint, the things that scare us, the things we love, and the things we don't. The complexity is still here when we come back from the deep. So much, shall we say, wiser, in my view, something that Master Dogen and Master Keizan and I think many others Zen masters knew, was how to find this clarity right in this world of complexity and difficulties and loss sometimes and winning too, but not having everything go our way, even if it does sometimes. So Master Keizan says, cut off thoughts of both, get this is very important, both usualness, or we might say the common, the worldly, cut off both thoughts of usualness and holiness, worldly affairs and Buddha Dharma. You would think that we want to attain the holy, we want to get enlightenment, we want to get wisdom, and we want to get away from ignorance. We want to get away from this broken world and just realize the wholeness, the emptiness. We want to realize nirvana and get the hell out of this crazy world, right? We want to get away from birth and death and taste something that's only, shall we say, birthless and deathless and timeless. We want to get away from this broken world and just get to the holy place. We want to be Buddhas who are not ordinary imperfect people. We want to get to perfection. We want to get away from this world of imperfections, right? But Master Keizan, for some reason, tells us to drop away all thoughts of both the worldly and the enlightened. And somehow the trick is that when we do that, I'm going to tell you how in a minute. I'm going to tell you how to do this today. I'm going to give you a roadmap. Yeah. When you do this, somehow you drop thoughts of both enlightened and worldly, of both perfection and imperfection. When you drop thoughts of both nirvana and this broken world, guess what? Perhaps that is enlightenment in this world, as this world. Master Keizan tells us to abandon all delusive feelings, but I don't think he meant here again, or the point is to become numb. The point is to kill all human feeling, never to feel anything, especially sadness, especially all anger. Of course, we don't want to fall into anger. We don't want to fall into, shall we say, extremes of depression and self-destructive grief. But I don't think he's telling us to get away from all feelings either. He's telling us something more subtle here. What could it be? When the true mind of reality manifests, the clouds of delusion dissipate, and the moon of the mind shines bright. In the simplicity of Zazen, yes, the thoughts and emotions simplify. The clouds, our tangled thoughts, our stormy emotions do tend to clarify, and a clarity appears. But I don't think Master Keizan is telling you, stay there. Stay in a realm where there's never any emotions again, never any clouds. I don't think that's what he's saying. So what is he saying? Now, to do this, we're going to turn to another teacher who I happened to be reading recently, a fellow named Shen Hui, who was back in the 8th century. Now, Keizan was back in the 14th century. So what's interesting, it's not exactly the same, but Keizan is as far from us, more or less, give or take a few hundred years, as Shen Hui was from Keizan. I mean, we've been doing this a long time, folks. And Shen Hui preaches a wisdom which I'm telling you resonates with what Keizan is saying, and also resonates with Shikantaza, the Zazen we're sitting. When I read these really, really old guys, this is before Zen got into koans and what it later became very focused on koan introspection and all that. You're going to see the early guys, the guys, by the way, many often who were in the koans, the really old guys, the originals, the founders, shall we say. I'm a fundamentalist, a constitution. The founders were practicing pretty much Shikantaza, if you ask me. There's a lot of resonance with what we're doing, and you're going to see this today. Now, Shen Hui and Keizan, I'm going to give you a little history here, have something in common in that we wouldn't be here without either of them. And they also might, at the same time they're preaching, don't get tangled in this world. Don't worry about the complexities of society and put your thoughts down. I got to tell you this about both Keizan and especially about Shenwei. They were also movers and shakers. They were very practical mystics in this sense. I told you this last time when we looked at Keizan. Dogen, beautiful fellow with his teachings and his 20 monks in the mountains of snowy Echizen, Japan. We might not be here if it had just been for Dogen, because Dogen was not a great, shall we say, voice to the wider society. As a matter of fact, the one time he went to meet the shogun, it said the shogun was impressed with Dogen, according to the legendary biography, and said, the shogun said, Dogen, you're great. Why don't you stay here in the capital, Kyoto? I'll set you up. I'll give you a beautiful big temple. And don't go back there to the snowy mountains. Stay right here in the middle of it all, downtown Manhattan, and I will set you up. And Dogen said, no, no, no. My monks are waiting for me. I'm going back to the snowy mountains. That was Dogen. He was. We respect that about Dogen. And the shogun actually ended up turning the temple over to a Rinzai fellow, and who got the temple, and the big temple, and Dogen went back to the middle of nowhere, which is beautiful about Dogen. But if that had continued, maybe we would not be here, because Keizan said, as you can tell, Keizan loved Shikantaza. Keizan's not taking any of this lightly, but at the same time, we have to appeal to the common people. We got to spread this a little more. So he was more of a popularizer. He went out and he said, the people, they don't really get the Zazen. Let's give them ceremonies. Let's make the crops grow when their babies are sick. Let's chant for them to be healthy. Let's spread the power of the priest to bring the power of the Zen priest to bring good power and energies to around. And so that's why there are thousands of temples dedicated to Keizan's lineage. I forget the ratio again, but it's a lot more for Keizan's lineage than the temples today that are in Dogen's lineage, because Dogen was, he wasn't a great popularizer, for good or bad. By the way, I'm not a big popularizer either. I often joke that, Tree Leaf, if I had been more of a better voice for I preach this kind of unpopular message about Dogen and Zazen. If I'd done more things, maybe we'd be 5 times, 10 times bigger as a sangha. But here we are, and I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. You guys are here. That's all I need. All of you right here. That's all I need. I don't need one more person. But I'm going to do some new chanting. There's a eclipse coming across North America Monday, I think. I'm going to start chanting at midnight to bring the sun back. I will chant, and I guarantee you, I will be chanting. Don't worry, I will bring the sun back. It will be fine. But anyway, Keizan, I think, did a lot of things like that. He chanted, it brought the sun back. Everyone was really impressed. So that's why we're here today, because of Keizan. He made an institution. Well, Shenwei even more. Boy, Shenwei is actually very controversial. Our sixth ancestor, Huineng, from the Platform Sutra, was a nobody. He was a kind of guy on the side, maybe, not a big shot. Shenwei promoted Huineng's thing, and suddenly he's our big sixth ancestor, because Shenwei did all these speeches and things. All those other guys in the Zen, no, go with Huineng. And because of that, we're all Huineng people. He promoted this lineage, and he did it sometimes in ways I gotta tell you, I'm not always crazy about Shenwei, even though what we're going to read today is beautiful. Shenwei kind of what we see in politics now, badmouth the other side a little too much, you know, with innuendo. For example, it seems that Shenwei spoke about sudden enlightenment, which we still speak about in Zen today, and we practice sudden enlightenment. Well, Shenwei had a tendency to say, those guys, the sort of the northern school, he said, we're the southern school. The northern school, they're not practicing sudden enlightenment. They are the dreaded gradualists. Gradualists. We, Wei Nung's lineage, we're the sudden enlightenment people. And people bought it. He was a big promoter, like we see in politics these days, and people bought his message. So to this day, we're all Wei Nung sudden enlightenment people. But here's the thing: the northern people turned out to be basically preaching the same thing as we're going to read today. The northern Zen people, the northern school, their message was pretty much the same as Shenwei's message, which we're going to read. They were also sudden enlightenment people, and also we're all sudden enlightenment and gradualists, because in our practice, the idea is you get insight, but then you have to bring it to life gradually, day by day, right? So we're both, all of us, sudden and gradual. There's no one in Zen who just got sudden enlightenment and they were finished. If you think that's what happened in Zen, oh, I'm enlightened, I'm done. No, for nobody. You have to keep living. So we're all gradual enlightenment people. But Shenwei was, okay, he was a good talker, okay? He was a good talker. So that's why Shenwei also, we would not be here today if you didn't have these people who preached, don't be entangled in the world, but yet they had a sense of getting the message out. Some people have called Shenwei a Zen missionary, a Zen propagandist, if you will. And he was. And for that reason, here we are, all these centuries later. So that's my little historical footnote on Shenwei. But like Keizan, even though they were good promoters, they had an excellent message. What is the message? About, here it is, I'm going to tell you, how to be in the world, but not tangled in the world. How to be in the world, living it all, feeling it all, experiencing it all, but yet seeing something, finding the light that shines through. This is the message. How to do that. Here is Master Shenwei's advice to show you that he was not all about just talk, and promotion. He had real insight, this guy too. I'm not like Keizan. They both knew their stuff, even as they were good, shall we say, salespeople to the public. Okay? Here's his world. What is subtle falsity? When you hear an explanation of Bodhi, wisdom, and activate the intention to grasp Bodhi. When you hear an explanation of nirvana and activate the intention to grab nirvana, get nirvana. When you hear an explanation of emptiness and activate the intention to grasp, to get, to reach emptiness. When you hear an explanation of concentration, samadhi, and you activate the intention to grasp, get to, attain concentration. These are all examples of the false mind, of being bound to the Dharma, a prisoner of the Dharma, of having mistaken views of the Dharma. If your mind functions like this, you will not attain emancipation. This is not your inherently serene and pure mind. Listen closely. If you attempt to reside in nirvana, you will be bound by nirvana. You're a prisoner of nirvana. You're just trying to get nirvana, grab nirvana. If you reside in emptiness, you are bound by emptiness. If you attempt to reside in concentration, you are bound by, tied up, a prisoner, chasing concentration, like that. Friends, you should all take care to listen carefully as I explain the pure inherent mind. When you hear an explanation of Bodhi, of wisdom, don't create the intention to get wisdom. When you hear an explanation of nirvana, don't create the intention to get nirvana. When you hear an explanation of emptiness, don't create the intention to grasp emptiness. When you hear an explanation of concentration, don't create the intention to grasp, to attain, to reach concentration. Now, what could that possibly mean? So we're in this world of complexity, of difficulties, and we think that there's a state we want to reach called nirvana, where this will all drop away. And by our chasing after that state, we're actually pushing it away, creating divisions, missing it. It's a little bit, you see the glasses on my face here? It's a little bit as if I said, where are my glasses? Where are my glasses? Are they over there? Are they over there? Missing the point that my glasses are here on my face all the time. When you chase nirvana, you make nirvana a thing over there, away from you, divided to get. Well, the whole point of nirvana is to feel the wholeness and completion. When you create it as a thing over there, you're literally taking a knife and cutting the world in two. I'm over here in delusion, nirvana's over there. When you say, oh, when I'm over there, everything will be good and complete. Over here, it's all broken. By your judging that, you're pushing the completion away. When you stop doing that, the world is whole. The world is complete. Stop looking for nirvana as a thing over there because you're incomplete over here. And everything is ipso facto complete and whole. Now, we live in this world of ignorance, anger and frustration. That's ignorance, because that's all we see. We're prisoners of our thoughts. That's what Keizan said at the beginning. Don't be prisoners of your emotions, especially the harmful emotions. Don't be prisoners of this world of we're only seeing the broken pieces. But also don't be a prisoner of nirvana that you think nirvana is the opposite. Give up all thought of opposites. And you realize the wholeness that's so whole that it's also this broken world. And then the light shines through this broken world and you realize, yeah, the world is still this crazy world, but somehow the light of wholeness is now shining through. It's not somewhere distant, not somewhere over there. It's right here. When we stop separating things, including nirvana versus ignorance, including death versus timelessness, when we stop that, we truly taste the wholeness, the timelessness, the nirvana that's right here, shining through even this complex world of passing time, life and death. Like that. It's very subtle. The way to attain nirvana is to stop looking for nirvana and thinking nirvana is something different, because it's the thought of difference and being away and lack that keeps you from nirvana. This is why we sit in Zazen for a time, dropping all thought of divisions, sitting in the completion and wholeness, not seeking the whole thing that Shenwei was saying here. Don't seek this, don't seek that, don't grasp this. We sit in shikantaza for this very reason. There is nothing to grasp. There is nothing to seek. This here sitting is Bodhi, is nirvana, is the Pure Land, is Buddha. And in that way, we realize a taste of the clear sky where for a time things dissipate, the thoughts and emotions, the clarity shines through. But then when we get back to this world of the clouds and the thoughts and emotions, still, I hope the light, the clarity now shines through. So let's get back to Master Keizan, where he continues on this theme. Don't be tangled in thoughts. This is what he was talking about. The Buddha said, listening and thinking about it are like being shut out by a door. Zazen is like coming home and sitting at ease. When you think about it, and where is nirvana? Where is peace? How do I get peace? Where do I get peace? Thinking about it. What is Buddha? What am I? When you think about it, your mind is like you're pushing Buddha and nirvana outside and slamming the door on them. When you just sit and drop the thinking about, it's as if the door opens, your home, and actually inside and outside prove to be all the same. Right where you sit is the whole world, and the whole world is illuminated right here. So Zazen is like coming home and sitting at ease, and this home proves to be everywhere in all things, like that. Because you've stopped pushing enlightenment and pushing the Buddha outside and slamming the door with your mind, creating division. You've dropped the divisions, is like opening the door and letting all flow in and out. Inside is the outside flowing in, the outside is the inside flowing out. You are Buddhas, Buddhas are ignorant people like us, and all is whole and flowing like that. When we are listening and thinking about it, views have not ceased and the mind is obstructed. This is why it's like being shut out by a door. Hey, I think I just said that. Zazen alone brings everything to rest and, flowing freely, reaches everywhere. I think I just said that too. Zazen is like returning home and sitting at ease, where everything is flowing freely, everything reaches everywhere. Nirvana is not out there. You haven't thrown it out of the house and closed the door on it. The door is open, the mind is clear, nirvana proves to be everywhere, even in this wacky, mixed up world of ours. Like that. You've stopped chasing it as something distant and realized it is right here where you sit and where you stand and walk through your day, like that. Now, next he talks about the 5 obstructions. These are the confusions of our mind, the harmful thoughts and emotions, basically. And again, some Buddhism says we have to get rid of these obstructions completely. And the Zen masters tend to say, no, you're a human being. You never get rid of these obstructions completely, but moderate them, keep them in a good place, don't become their prisoner, don't go to excess, and as best you can go in good directions, but also find the light, again, the wholeness which shines through all the obstructed, confused mind. Just like we find the light that shines through all this confused and tangled world, find the light that shines through your tangled thoughts and emotions too. Okay? Being afflicted by the 5 obstructions, that's excess desire, ill will, hate, anger, sloth, and torpor. I never know how to pronounce that. Torpor. Sloth and torpor. I'm too lazy to look it up. Ba-dum-bum. Get it? Okay. Okay. Restlessness and worry, doubt. The 5, being afflicted by the 5 obstructions arises from not understanding your own nature, not clarifying yourself. Zazen is understanding your own nature. Even if you were to eliminate the 5 obstructions, notice he doesn't say you should eliminate them. He says even if you were to eliminate them, You haven't eliminated basic ignorance. The point is to find the wisdom, the wholeness, the compassion that shines through, not to eliminate the five obstructions, but you're not obstructed by them anymore because there's a light shining through. Like sometimes you might feel, a little sad or angry or something, but you're no longer dragged around by that because there's this light of wisdom that's shining through. If you haven't eliminated basic ignorance, you have not yet realized yourself as the Buddhas and awakened ancestors. Yes, he's talking about you there, Ross, who, by the way, I said, we're all monks and stuff, but you're really dressed like a monk today, man. But you look like the European kind with the hood. Yes. Brother Ross. Yes. You have not yet realized yourself as the Buddhas and awakened ancestors. If you want to release basic ignorance, the essential key is to sit and practice the way. Then he said, an old master said, when confusion ceases, clarity, tranquility arises. When clarity, tranquility arises, wisdom appears. And when wisdom appears, reality displays itself as our complicated selves, as this complicated world too. The light shines through, our mind simplifies, suddenly the complexities become clear. This world of sometimes turmoil has a certain tranquility. This is when we realize the wholeness of it all, what we call emptiness, the flowing wholeness. This is the wisdom. We realize the wisdom, the clarity. We feel a certain tranquility, the open blue sky, the light of the moon, whatever you want to call it. Reality displays itself. But hey, we're still us, and we're still in this complicated world. He's not talking about getting to that perfect place over there. He's realizing that this world where we're in is not just the mess that we thought it was. It's like a mess, like my office, I got to clean today. You should see my floor in my office. I dropped cookies. I eat cookies sometimes. The crumbs drop. I went down. I went, oh my God, I got a vacuum down here. It's a mess, okay? In the mess of this world, you still find the beauty of the room. The light is still pouring through the windows onto the crumbs. It did that this morning. The light came through the window and kind of illuminated the crumbs, and my wife's going to yell at me. As soon as Zazen is over, I got to get in the house and get the vacuum. But somehow it was beautiful. The dust and the crumbs were the beautiful room and the light shining through the window like that. That's our experience of this world now when we practice Zazen. It's not like to get into a room that has no dust, no clouds. Can't do that as long as we're alive. But we can find the light that somehow illuminates it and makes it beautiful. Asterisk, even as we grab the vacuum and the dustpan and clean it up as best we can. Like that. Okay? Now, as I said, Keizan and Shunwei were big movers and shakers. So they're going to advise us not to get involved in the world here, but they were very involved with the world. They were dealing with a lot of powerful people, spreading the message of spreading the message of Chan, of Zen, to Chinese mandarins and to Japanese daimyo lords, right? So how do you do both of those? Well, here's Shenwei's advice. When your mind discriminates separate dharmas, here dharmas means things of the world, phenomena. Me, you, this, that, the other thing, all the events, the moments yesterday, today. When your mind discriminates separate things in the world, discriminate well all the dharmas. He's not saying get to a place where there's no dharmas, there's only this wholeness. He says discriminate them well, see the light that shines through and illuminates the crumbs and the dust, like that. He's not saying get away from the discrimination. He's saying do not activate the mind in consequence of the discrimination. Do not let the mind get rolling, 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 tangled, 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 tied up in it, swept in, wallowing in this world. This is ignorance, you see. Most of the time, we see this complexity in the world. We're all caught up. It's a storm. We're caught in the storm. We're just feeling the frictions. We're wallowing. It's like it's a whirling whirlpool, and we're just caught up in it. No, he's saying, wait a second. There's still the discrimination. There's still this world of things, the dharmas, but just don't activate the mind in consequence. Don't get caught up in it, is what we would say in modern terms. This is Jijiu Zenmai. Let everything be. Do it its own thing. Samadhi. Instead, attain autonomy within dharmas. Notice it doesn't say away from, getting rid of. Attain freedom. Attain Elvis lives, my friends. All right. Attain freedom, liberation within dharmas, within the things of this world, by knowing the wholeness, the light that comes when the mind is not so breaking things into pieces. So that within dharmas, notice again, within, you attain completely to the samadhi of emancipated dharmas. There it is. The dharmas, the things of this world, become emancipated in samadhi. Each is doing its own thing freely. Even the things that are hard for us, though, are just doing their thing. When all your sensory faculties discriminate well in this fashion, he doesn't say stop discriminating and dividing. He says discriminate wisely, discriminate well this world. This is the fundamental wisdom. When you do not activate the mind, get it all spinning, 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 in consequence of this discrimination, this is the fundamental concentration. This is the real concentration. This is the real samadhi, man. Not getting away from all the complexity of this world, seeing it in, shall we say, a tranquil, light, illuminated way. Seeing the wholeness and flowing that is all the disturbance and complexity of this world. Thus the sutra says, without discarding the dharmas of the past, without getting rid of the phenomena of this world, one still manifests the affairs of an ordinary person. You're still you. Living this ordinary life, and yet you just don't see it the same way. You don't experience it the same way. All I can say is next time you bump your toe on a table, you're going to realize somehow it's the whole universe bumping the whole universe there. That's the only way I could describe it to you. You're going to realize that when you bumped into the table, you kind of bumped into yourself. Something like that. Anyway, you're going to realize the light that shines through all the dharmas, all the phenomena of this world, not pushing the phenomena away. To perform, now here he says, this was Shen Wei, the guy who was very much involved in politics and promotion and had his goals for the future of Chan. Thank you, Shen Wei, otherwise we wouldn't be here. To perform the myriad activities and worldly affairs without generating thoughts about those affairs. This is the combined cultivation of concentration and wisdom that cannot be separated. That was Shenmue. And here's Keizan's way of... Now he says again in Zazen, and if you want to cease your confusion, delusive thoughts, you must cease involvement in thoughts of good and bad. So we sit Zazen, putting aside our judgments of good and bad. Zazen is just good as Zazen. It's Jijiu Zanmai. It's Zazen sitting as Zazen doing its thing. complete as it is. But then we got to get back to life, which has good and bad things, man. Things we like, things we don't like. We have to have opinions. I'm going to eat, clean the room because the room dirty is not good. A clean room is better. Makes my wife happy, first off. I'm going to, for lunch, try to have healthy food, not eat poison. We have to have good and bad. War in the world we see in the news, that's bad. We have to stop it because peace is good, right? But we're trying to find the peace now and the wholeness that holds both the clean and the dirty floor and also the oceans. That holds, it's a piece of wholeness that holds both this world of war and peace. So we sit with this kind of wholeness and then come back to the world of good and bad, war and peace, doing our best to make peace and not war, doing the best to clean the room and not leave it dirty, doing our best to clean the oceans and not leave them dirty. But at the same time, we know this now wholeness and shining that we've discovered in Zazen and through the advice of Master Keizan and Master Shenwei. So he says, cease involvement in thoughts and of good and bad. Stop getting caught up in unnecessary affairs. Again, the same advice. Don't get tangled. Don't get tangled. But then Master Keizan had to get back to the world. A mind unoccupied together with a mind free of activity is the essential point to remember. Be free of activity, know a stillness, even as you're in this world where you can't be still all the time. You're moving, you got things to do, but somehow in you now, you have the sense of nothing to do. A stillness that holds all the doing of this world. Do not occupy your mind with any concerns, nor become physically engaged in any activity. When you're sitting Zazen, and also when you get up, somehow don't be tangled in all the activity, even as you are in all the activity of this world. This is the primary point of Zazen to bear in mind. When delusive attachments end, the mind of delusion dies out. When delusion dies out, the reality that was always the case manifests here, there, and everywhere. And you are always clearly aware of it. Now, he says very pointedly, this is not a matter of either extinction or activity. The stillness, the lack of activity we're talking about is not a matter of actually just not being active. It's a stillness that is found even in all this world's dharmas and things that are happening. It is a stillness and silence that is right in all this world's noise and doing and chaos. Okay? We discover that when we stop trying to look for it to get away from here and just find the quiet, the stillness, the wholeness that is here all along. And we do that in Zazen. And then we get up and live. Okay, that's all I got.